Alright, let's do a quick demo of our testing procedure for the beams project in Engineering 120. Here we've got all our supplies, a bucket and a pad that we're going to use to prevent ourselves from making too much noise for our neighbors. We've got the weights we're going to use to test the sample, file to place those prepare those samples, a ruler and a micrometer to take some measurements. So we've got 3 samples, 3 3/8 and 3 1/2-inch dowels. Each of these is 12 inches long, and so we're going to bend them off the edge of the table and see what it takes to snap them. The data we're collecting is again for the modulus of rupture, so we really only need to collect 4 pieces of data for this test. But let's go through the sample process and sample prep process, and I'll get to details from there. All right, so about a 1/2 inch from the end, we need a ridge that's thick enough to hold the bucket on. So I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch here and file this. It doesn't need to be deep, but it should be deep enough to hold the bucket on. So what I mean by that is there's a bolt here, and as long as it sits in that bolt and allows the bucket to hang down, because when it starts bending it flexes quite a bit, so you want it to stay on. So that sample is looking good. So that's our sample prep. That's really all that's needed. You guys can take turns doing that. The edge, we want to hang off the edge of our fixture here. We clamp this to the table and make this fairly easy to put on. The 3/8 ones you can push farther in, but it's might as well use them flush out the back. Push down solid on the piece of aluminum and then tighten the nuts on the bottom. That's really as tight as it needs to be. You can get it a little bit tighter than that. Alright, so that takes care of that. We hang the bucket on here, and that is our test configuration. Now before we do that, we should take our measurements. The important measurements that we'll review in class are the height, the thickness of the sample we're going to test, the width of the sample, and then how far the sample is from the edge of the table where it's going to most likely break to where the force is being applied. And so these are 3/8 inch square dowels, and so just check that with the micrometer. We'll go over this in class, but certainly shows 3/8 both directions for us on these dowels. The other ones will be 1/2 inch. The length from the edge of the table, and again, a little common sense, it's going to break most likely here at the edge of the table. Because it's wood, it's going to act a little bit funny, and we are doing these measurements in inches today. So from where the bucket is attached, where the bolt is making contact, to the edge of this piece of steel, for this sample is about 9 3/4. All right, so that would be our length. And so the data that we're collecting is the height and width of the sample, and then the length of the sample off the table, and then finally we're going to break this sample with our weights, and we'll record that. So those are the 4 pieces of data that we'll be using. 3 samples for 3/8 inch, and 3 samples for the 1/2 inch. All right. So the basic test process, we are supposed to have safety glasses on. So, but the process is with the 3/8 inch samples, you can probably start with a 5-pound weight. That will cause it to flex quite a bit, but you should be careful after that. I'd like you to go in 1/2 pound increments. So you put in a 1/2 pound, pull it out, put in 1 pound. All right, then a 1/2, pull it out, put in another 1. All right, pull the 2 pounds out, put in a 2-pounder, go a 1/2, pull it out, put in a 1. Put a 1, pull it out, put in another 1. Alright, now we're back to 2 pounds. So we're up to 9 pounds on this sample. 1/2, 1. 1/2, that's up to 2. Now we're up to this, what's that, about 9 pounds, or 10 pounds, 12 pounds. Another 1/2, no, another 1, another 1/2, another 1, and that snaps it. So that's our sample test. So we count the weights in the bucket, add that to our data sheet, and you're all done. Prepare your next sample and move on. We'll be entering this data on a spreadsheet, so no need to prepare the spreadsheet. We'll be entering it online so we can all collect data together. That's our test process, and of course we will be wearing safety glasses in class. Thank you.